Hello and welcome to this Astranti video. Today we'll be talking about the three main types of profit-making businesses. You may have come across the concept of legal personality of businesses in your certificate studies. This comes up in BA1, BA3 and BA4, so it's an important concept to get your head around. What does it mean for businesses to have their own legal identity? And what type of businesses have these? This extract from our video on Chapter 1 of BA3 will introduce you to this concept. And if you want to see the full video, this can be found on the Astranti website, where all of our CIMA Certificate resources can be accessed for free. But for now, let's consider our first type of business.
So let's start by looking at a sole trader. So the name sort of gives you a hint about the type of business that I'm talking about. But maybe have a think and see if you can get a bit of an idea for yourself before I discuss the concepts. So as I'm sure you probably worked out by now, a sole trader simply has one owner. And as such, these are usually small businesses where the owner is effectively self-employed. Now, as we're dealing with a single owner of a business, we quite often see sole traders as small, maybe independent stores that are limited somewhat by the financial means of their singular owner. And this idea of the owner being singularly responsible for the financial needs of the business is one of the key aspects of sole traders. And so essentially what it's important to note about sole traders is that the owner is singularly and ultimately responsible for the finance of the business. Now, this is all well and good if you've got plenty of money to pump into your independent store or your independent restaurant. But what happens if the money dries up? Well, simply there is no barrier, in a sense, between the assets of the business and the assets of the owner. So we're in the unfortunate situation where the owner of our sole trader business does not have any more cash to inject into the business, and the business has unfortunately incurred significant debts which now need to be repaid. As there is no barrier between the business's assets and the assets of the individual, it is the individual's personal finances which need to pay towards these business debts. And if they can't pay, well then unfortunately bankruptcy is the next step. The owner basically could lose everything if the business goes wrong. And so typical examples of businesses which are sole traders will be things such as self-employed tradesmen or independent shops and restaurants where we have this singular owner in charge of the business and its fortunes. Our next type of business again is slightly self-explanatory in its name. And as you're all smart CIMA students, I'm sure you'll have got a bit of an idea that a partnership is a business which is owned by two or more individuals. And the key point to note here is that there can be any number of ownerships of a partnership as long as there are two or more owners. So as you would expect, you've got two or three people putting cash into the business. The key point to note here is that there are greater financial resources, generally speaking, for a partnership than there would be for a sole trader where we have just the single person inputting funds into the business. Now this could be anything from a husband and wife team, a father and son team, you get the idea. But we have more resources to put into the business and so they can grow a bit more as a result. However, it's key to note that the same problems apply here as the problems we discussed with our sole trader. So there is no legal distinction between the business and the owners of the partnership. So once again, if this business incurs a substantial amount of debt and the owners have no money available to offset this debt, then it will be the financial resources of the owners themselves, specifically of both of them if there are two in the partnership. And if they can't pay, unfortunately, the owners will go bankrupt and they will lose everything as a result of this business. The idea of separation or distinction from a business is the key difference with the next of our three profit-making companies, and that is a limited company. Now, what we have here in a limited company is an officially registered company that is legally distinct from its owners. Essentially, and this might be a little bit of a weird concept to get your head around, but a limited company is legally viewed as a person. And this idea that the shareholders, the owners of a limited company, are legally distinct from the company itself is sort of encompassed by a concept known as separate identity. So as we sort of touched upon, what this concept of separate identity means for a limited company is that there is a separation between the company's owners and the company itself, which is legally viewed as this person. And so if you think back to our partnerships and our sole traders, what do you think the main distinction here is for the owners of a limited company? Well, of course, you would be right in thinking that the financial activities of the owners and the business never mix. So unlike our sole trader, for instance, where the single owner can go bankrupt if they run out of money and the business incurs significant debts, this is never the case in a limited company. The financial assets of the owners, the shareholders, are distinct, they're separate, they're safe from any financial catastrophes which may fall upon the business that they own. And this concept of separate identity sort of fuels the name limited company. You may in some countries see this abbreviated to LTD, and essentially it refers to the fact that the shareholders, the owners of limited companies, have a limited liability for the debts and financial problems of the company that they own. Essentially, their personal assets are safe.
So we've now come to the end of this video, and you should now have a better grasp of the three main types of profit-making businesses. This video is merely the tip of the iceberg, however, and there are further distinctions you'll need to be aware of. These are all covered in the full video, which can be found for free on the Astranti website as part of our full range of CIMA Certificate resources. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to one of our social media accounts? We can be found on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course here on YouTube, where you can find many more videos on a wide range of topics. Thanks for watching.